Hey, good morning, Hope Church. My name is Isaac. I use he, him pronouns. Glad to see you this morning. I want to invite you to stand up if you're comfortable doing that and join us in this song together, which is fitting for a day like today outside, I think. Here we go. Here we go.
Gonna shine anymore. Oh, but God, He put a rainbow in the sky. And God should know in the grand old ark, you know, my God, He put a rainbow in the sky. When the thunders roll and the day was dark, you know, my God, He put a rainbow in the sky. God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. My God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. It looked like the sun wasn't gonna shine anymore. Oh, but God, He put a rainbow in the sky. Way down yonder in Egypt's sand, you know, my God, He put a rainbow in the sky. Just to lead His children to the promised land, you know, my God, He put a rainbow in the sky.
Here we go.
God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. My God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. It looked like the sun wasn't gonna shine anymore. Oh, but God, He put a rainbow in the sky. Now the Jordan's deep and the Jordan's wide. He will lead His children to the other side, because my God, He put a rainbow in the sky. God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. My God put a rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky, rainbow in the sky. It looked like the sun wasn't gonna shine anymore. I'm talking about when the sky is dark and your head is low and you've lost your hope. That's right, when God will put a rainbow in the sky. I'm telling you, God put a rainbow in the sky. I'm saying that God put a rainbow in the sky.
All right.
You may be seated. Good morning, Hope Church. Welcome. My name is Greta Long, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am so happy to be here with you all this morning. This week, I get to share my story, which I'm very excited about. Our lead pastor, Jenny, is on a summer renewal leave, and she'll be back next week, and you'll get to hear her and Ryan's story then. A special welcome to everyone joining us online. Our online facilitator this morning is Trisha Herman. Hi, Trisha. Yay. If you are newer here, we'd love to meet you and help you get connected. You may communicate with our paper connect card on your chairs. It looks like this. And you can place this in the offering basket if you fill it out. Or if you're feeling tech savvy, you can use our Be Hope Church app. You can check in, watch the messages, give, connect to different groups, and more. This is where you can sign up for VBS, both as a participant or as a volunteer. Our theme this year for VBS is God's ultimate quest, ultimate team. It sounds like it's going to be super fun. It'll be the first week of August, 6 to 8 p.m. each night. Next Sunday, you'll hear Pastor Jenny and Ryan's story, and also we want to officially welcome our new Multiplying Hope Pastor Sophie and her spouse Kim on August 3rd. So if you would like to give them a welcome card and a welcome gift, that would be the time to do that, and we'll make sure we celebrate them appropriately then. So go ahead and fill out the cards and do all the things. And then as we prepare ourselves for worship, let's center ourselves using the Hope prayer statement. Let us pray. Dear God, as Hope Church, we pray that this is a place where absolutely everyone experiences God's love. We are a place of theological thought and conversation, and we are a community learning to live Christ-centered lives. Amen.
I want to invite you to stand again if you feel comfortable doing that, and let's sing together. Come all you hungry, let the thirsty come and fill their cup, and find yourself in Him, for His burden is an easy one. Come all you bitter, and let the angry lay down their guns, and find yourself again, for His burden is an easy one. His burden is light, His burden is love. Though we walk through the night, the morning comes. His burden is light, His burden is love, and He will give you rest, for His burden is an easy one. Come all you tired, let your bodies be lifted up, and be transformed, my friend, for His burden is an easy one. His burden is light, His burden is love. Though we walk through the night, the morning comes. His burden is light, His burden is love, and He will give you rest, for His burden is an easy one. And I will take up my cross His burden is light, His burden is up. Though we walk through the night, the morning comes. His burden is light, His burden is up, and He will give you rest. He will give you rest. He will give you rest. For His burden is an easy one. And I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna breathe the life around me. I wanna listen as my heart beats right on time. I wanna be where my feet are. I chase my worries, I flee my sorrows, but what you give me is now. So take my burdens and my tomorrows. I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna breathe the life around me. I wanna listen as my heart beats right on time. I wanna be where my feet are. I'll run to capture the next horizon. What you give me is here, and I get no further, but still I find you. I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna be where my feet are, and I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna be where my feet are. I wanna be where my feet are, yeah. The ground below me is how you hold me. I wanna be where my feet are. The ground below me is how you hold me. I wanna be where my feet are. Ground below me is how you hold me. I wanna be where my feet are. 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 One more time. I wanna be where my feet are. Go ahead and take a seat. So we come to a time in our service where we practice being thankful. for the things that are all around us. Sometimes the things that are easy to see, sometimes the things that are difficult to see, but that's part of that prayer that we just sang, to be where our feet are, to recognize the good things that are happening among us, to be thankful and to participate in those. And I know that Hope Church is one of those things for a lot of us. So this is an opportunity for us to give back in all kinds of different ways. So as the ushers come forward and do that with the paper gifts, and celebrate the things that have come in online and electronically, and we just want to be grateful together that our feet are in this place. So we'll have the ushers come forward, and we'll take a look at this video as we do that.
God of friendship, I come to know your love and care through the embodied presence of others. Weave me together with kindred spirits. Knit me more closely with friends of the soul. Cultivate in me a kinship with humanity, so that I recognize my struggles and joys in others. In my loneliness, reveal to me this communion, and may I be a solace to others who ache for connection. Transform me through conversation and loving presence. Help me to see how I am part of a great circle of pilgrims, witnesses, ancestors, and mystics who guide me to true connection with you. Gather me into your great wide heart, so I might discover I am never separate, but always held in love.
Good morning. Sorry, y'all. I had it perfectly too, and now it's gonna be messed up. It's okay. Good morning. Okay. We're set. In preparing for this message, I went back and I watched Kyan and Sophie's sermons, and I really appreciated hearing their stories, and I also was still stuck about what I wanted to say. In trying to figure out what to share about me, I found myself reflecting on all the communities that have shaped my path and accompanied me along the way. I always try my best to remember that all that I've achieved have, yes, been mine, but I would not be here without the spaces and faces of community along the way. So let's start at the beginning. My name is Greta. I live here in town with my fiance, Nick. Hi, Nick. He's back there. There's also a picture. There we are. Yay. That's us. It's from our engagement shoot. I'm a big fan. We live here in town, and we have 2 cats. The first, this is Willow. She is, as we call her affectionately, our perfect angel baby daughter. She's 12, and then that is Waffles. Waffles is a year old. He shares a brain cell with Kim and Sophie's cat, Archer, as well as all of the other orange cats in the world. And I personally hypothesize that orange cats don't even get access to the brain cell until they're at least a year old. And I think now he only gets it maybe quarterly. I grew up in the Quad Cities in Moline, and I was raised in the United Methodist Church. You could say that I was kind of the poster child for my home church. I served as an usher on Sunday mornings, as well as singing in the praise band, being the liturgist, being the acolyte, children's choir, all the things. I served in a different capacity of leadership and youth groups and things, and you could find me at the church on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at the minimum. The first community that I want to talk about comes from my home church. It's about the small group that I attended as a child all the way through high school and early adolescence. We met on Tuesdays. It was called the Tuesday Run/Walk Club. And we would start the meetings with going for a walk or a run for 30 to 45 minutes. Now, I am not a runner. Never really have been, probably never will be. But being in a community that prioritized spiritual and physical well-being was so important to me. The small group was also one of the earliest intergenerational and interdisciplinary groups I remember being a part of. I was adopted, and when my mom brought me home, this small group was the very first kind of place of community that she welcomed me into, and they welcomed me with open arms. They would come over and mow my mom's lawn, they would cook us food, they would take me out to do fun things. This small group became a second extension of my family, lots of second aunts and uncles and things. I was pretty regularly the youngest member of the group, but I got to learn a lot from a variety of people with varieties of backgrounds and beliefs. Not all of the members of the small group were members of our church. A lot of them came to church regularly, and I was always fascinated learning about how my religious education compared to others. People would come from Lutheran churches and Catholic churches, or people who used to go to church and then kind of stepped away for whatever reason. They also did a variety of different jobs and were all a variety of different ages, and I often just found myself listening and absorbing their stories. This group they were truly my church family growing up, and they've supported me in countless ways. They're an extension of my family, and I love them dearly. After high school, I graduated and I moved here to Bloomington, and I started at ISU as a music therapy major. I remember getting onto campus and having grown up in the church, I did all of the youth group things, went on all the mission trips, and I found myself thinking at the end of high school, I'm not really learning more things when I'm at church. I want to be learning things. And so maybe, silly Greta thought, I've graduated from the Methodist Church. I'm good. Maybe I'm not Methodist. Maybe I am secretly another different denomination. Or maybe I don't need to find a church community in college. But during Welcome Week, I figured, what the heck? I'll walk around campus, see what I can find. I was kind of playing campus ministry musical chairs, almost. And I remember I was sitting outside at one of the campus ministries, I'm not going to name names, and I went through their little food line, and I sat down on the curb, and no one talked to me. None of the current students, none of the staff members. I was sitting by myself, and I remember, I don't know who this human is, but a toddler just kept coming up to me and bringing me rocks. And I was having a great time. I would have sat there with that little girl and had her hand me rocks all day. But I was really struck with the sense of, this is a campus ministry fostering community, and no one's talking to me. There were a bunch of picnic tables, and it was like a high school cafeteria. Everyone had their own groups already, and I was like, I just came from high school. I don't want to do that. So as I'm sitting there with this toddler bringing me rocks, I hear live music. I hear piano, live guitar, live drums, live vocals, and I'm like, wait a minute. Where is that coming from? I want to be where that is. So I throw away whatever food I didn't eat, and I get up and I start walking, and I'm walking down School Street towards the library, and this is where I stumble upon Merge. You heard Kyan talk about Merge. I'm going to talk about Merge again. I'm walking past, and my good friend Hope now runs up to me and says, "Hi, do you want to come get food? We have so much food. Come get our food." And I was like, sure, I like food, yeah. Also, you have a band? What's going on there? So I'm walking up with Hope. She's making conversation, asking me my major. I let her know I'm a music therapy major at the time, and she said, "Oh my gosh, what instruments do you play?" And I start listing the litany of instruments that I know how to play, and she says, "You have to meet our music director, Jordan." So I meet Jordan. Jordan likes music, Jordan likes coffee, and Jordan likes cats. I decided that Jordan and I are best friends. And I quickly felt very at home. And I got involved. I started going to worship. I joined a freshman small group. I met Nick. That was also a solidifier. I said, yeah, I'm not leaving now. That led me to going on spring break trips. I ended up leading the 24/7 prayer room for a number of years. I joined the leadership team. I was eventually on the exec team. Merge really not only fostered my theological growth, put me in a space of theological thought and conversation, but it gave me some very long-lasting friends and really helped me develop in a way that I didn't know I was capable of. During this time, I got involved with things up at the conference level, and I realized that as a college student, I could do internships through the United Methodist Church. So that summer after my freshman year, I did not intern, but I worked as a counselor over at East Bay Camp. I loved counseling at East Bay. If you've never been a camp person, I highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. During this time at East Bay, rather than participating in all that the kind of fostered community had to offer, I was able to help create that community for kids, brand new, every single week, and that was so special. Then I realized, okay, let's listen in on this internship conversation. The following summer, I interned over at Wesley United Methodist Church, and I found community there, did a lot of different worship leady type things. And then the summer of COVID happened, and I was an intern half-time at Merge and half-time at East Bay. Now, if you were in the area or connected to East Bay during that time, if you ever got one of those camp in a boxes, that was me. I did that. Merge and the UMC internship programs provided me a space to lead and grow and learn, and Merge especially opened my eyes to the possibility of changing my major. I remember being a music therapy major, and I loved music and I loved the therapy thing, but I didn't know if I loved them together. And Merge was a safe space for me to articulate that, and then to hear everyone say, yeah, change it. And I said, okay. Merge connected me and other students to student counseling as well. Very early on in my freshman year, they had a woman who worked at the counseling center come and speak to us. Her name was Dekisa. And then I said, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. I'm going to go to therapy. This is great. I started meeting with Dekisa. I ended up not being able to work with her beyond what was provided at ISU, so I switched and found a different therapist, and that also changed my life. That led me to follow the path of mental health in churches and working to pursue a career that bridges the gap between the church and the mental health world. During my middle of junior year through middle of senior year to graduation, I started working as a youth director over in Pekin, Illinois at Grace United Methodist Church. I worked in Pekin from September of 2020 to January of 2023. That was another opportunity that I got because of my involvement at Merge, because of the people and the kind of interconnected nature of the UMC. And that was another community that often poured into me and allowed me to pour into the spaces around me. Another community that I want to highlight is a community that I find myself in now. Sharing Sunday mornings with all of you here at Hope and being involved with the Called Good young adult group through Wesley UMC are both spaces that I get to engage in theological thought and conversation that we at Hope practice or prioritize. My story is what it is because of the communities that have supported me and the spaces that have let me grow and learn and fail and grow again. Community is something that I do my best to foster in any spaces that I find myself in, and I feel grateful to be a part of a church that fosters community first and foremost in their ministry in the world. I remember as a child going to East Bay Camp, and I remember vividly when I moved to Bloomington, I did not realize that East Bay was as close to here as it is. And I had this aha moment where the puzzle pieces came together, and I said, wait a minute, that's the camp that I went to all the time as a kid, and it's just right there. I can just go there whenever. When I was a child, I went to camp, and I remember being in the chapel in the woods, and it was Thursday night worship. Everyone was going to cry, me included, and we were singing How He Loves. And I remember being in a space, hearing all these voices, and I don't know who, but someone started the train of people holding hands. And then the bridge happens, and everyone just raised their hands. And when I talk to campers, students, peers about how I experience the presence of God, I share it feels like liquid gold or liquid honey running through my veins. It feels very warm. I feel very at peace. And that is the first time that I felt that presence in East Bay. And then I often, like most people, spent the rest of my existence so far trying to find that feeling over and over again. The times where I have felt that feeling the most is when I'm in spaces of community. Being in communities like East Bay and Merge, I have had the opportunity to have conversations that have opened my eyes to the way that God has worked. And even sitting down and making my notes for this morning really opened my eyes to all of the fingerprints that God has left on my life. I will say this is probably the hardest or most difficult message I've had to prepare because it's all about me and no thanks. But as I was trying to figure out what to share, I kept having ideas of what I could share, and then I was like, I don't want to keep everyone here for hours and hours and hours on end. Community isn't all rainbows in the sky, as we sang this morning, which is ironic. Each of these communities that I've highlighted have seen me through especially challenging times in my life as well. The small group from home helped my mom through different relationships ending, helped me through just existing in middle and high school. And there were a lot of kind of turmoils that happened for our church kind of home as well. And that small group was a consistent and a constant. My youth group wasn't always the safest place for me. Kids can be really mean. Don't know if you knew that. But this small group with other adults who looked at me and talked with me and treated me like one of their own and like a peer, that was where I felt my safest. During college, that comes with a whole host of trials and turmoils as well, and Merge was always a safe space for me to go, whether it be I found myself in the Merge space and I took a nap on the comfiest couches I've ever sat on in my entire life, or I went into Roxy's office and laid on the ground and had some floor time, or I sat in the prayer room and cried to myself and to God or with a friend. Merge offered me spaces to ask hard questions, to receive answers that I didn't want to hear, and to practice listening and waiting for God's voice. The community that I find myself in now is helping me through just the turmoil of the world we live in. There are no easy answers. There are no surefire things that help. But knowing where my compass points, the spaces of safety, the safe havens, the soft places to land, those would not exist without the communities that have fostered me into the leader, into the Christian that I am. And I hope to turn around and create more spaces like that in the work that I do. Oftentimes, when I sit with someone as a therapist, one of the first things I ask is, what communities do you belong to? Where are your safe spaces? Where do you get to go to get poured into so that you feel energized and prepared to pour into the world? I will boast for a minute and say I have achieved a lot in my life thus far. I'm a fresh 26. And every single thing that I've been able to do, even pursuing seminary and going and graduating from Garrett, I would not have done that had I not gone to Merge. When I started at Merge, shortly after Roxy, the current campus minister, joined, and she was getting her Master of Divinity while she was working at Merge, and she would bring back these nuggets of information that she learned from her seminary education, and I said, wait a minute, I kind of want to do that. I didn't know where the psychology degree would lead me. I knew I would need furthering education. And I found out that Garrett has a program around pastoral care and clinical counseling. And I said, that is right up my alley. And with Roxy's help, I got connected at Garrett, and I went, and I had a time. I lived with one of my very close friends from Merge. His name's Sam. Shout out to Sam. We love Sam. But each of these tiny little details that in the grand scheme of things seemed pretty insignificant, I could find a way to trace it back to one of these communities that I've highlighted. We are a tapestry woven from threads from all different areas of our lives, and sometimes the work of growing in this world in faith, in your mental health and your spiritual health, sometimes that feels like an unraveling. But as you unravel, you get to see specifically which threads go where. And God is a seamstress who gets to weave us back together, who repairs us when we feel like we're falling apart. And I think the threads that I am made of are pretty great. They're very reinforced. They feel very cozy and very safe. What communities do you belong to? When you begin to pull at a thread of who you are, what threads do your spaces belong to? How do you see the fingerprints of the divine on your life? Where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am with them. Whenever I am in spaces of more than just me, I feel the presence of God there with me, and I hope that you do too. And I hope if you take anything from my story, you take that this is a community where you are called, where you are loved, where you are safe, and you have many, many others as well. And if for some reason you're feeling like you don't have community in the same way that you would like to, in the way that you've heard me share about, speak out about it. As Sophie shared, Hope is not a church that waits to get told what to do. We are a church that does. If you are finding spaces in Hope specifically where new communities can be formed, let someone know. We're happy to help make that happen however we can. Outside of here, a lot of what I do kind of steps into social work realms where I'm happy to help you find resources and connect you to places where you can find safe community, where there can be safe haven. You are not alone. You are loved. God is always with you, and so are we. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the gift of community, for the people you place in our lives who walk with us, who laugh and cry with us, who challenge us and lift us when we fall. In community, you show us your presence in shared meals, quiet conversations, and bold acts of love. You bring us together not in perfection, but in grace, patience, and the holy work of growing together. When we feel alone, remind us that we are never truly by ourselves. You are present through the hands and hearts of others. When we are strong, help us carry those who are weary. And when we are weary, help us to receive care without shame. Bless the circles we gather in, our families, our churches, our neighborhoods. Help us build spaces where all are welcome, where differences are honored, and where your spirit moves freely among us. Bind us together with the cords of compassion, so that we may reflect your kingdom on earth, a people united not by sameness, but by love. Amen.
Bring your weary bones, tired from the load. There's rest for you here. Bring your hurting heart that's been emptied and scarred. There's nothing to fear. We all belong here. We all belong here.
as you go this week, I want you to take stock of the communities you find yourself in. You're all in them, whether or not you're aware of them. And I think sometimes taking a minute to look around, see who we're surrounded by, open our eyes to the love that exists in the world, the love that we get to experience, the spaces and places of community that will lovingly hold up a mirror and say, hey, I see you, and I love you. That is where we will most clearly hear the voice of God, to understand God's call, and to get and feel the confidence that we need in order to step into that path. Go in peace. Know that you belong here. Know that you are loved. And we'll see you next week. Bye.